Hey my friends, this is Lance from BestKidsSolutions.com, and today's topic is an extremely important one. Teachers have dedicated their lives to making students the very best they can be, even to the detriment of themselves sometimes. And if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And so this topic is going to be about how teachers can help their students be successful. Let's get into it right now. Hey friends, if you're new to the channel, my name is Lance. I run a website called BestKidsSolutions.com, and we are really dedicated to helping the most important people on this planet, and we believe those people are kids, parents, and teachers. If you feel the same way, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the big thumbs up. This is going to help send this video to as many people as we can, and I think this is a super important one. Because, as I said before, teachers have spent and dedicated their lives to helping their students be the most successful they can. And it's really easy to get bogged down in all the different red tape and different things that are going on. I mean, teachers have literally 10 to 15 hats that they wear every day. It is amazing the multitasking that goes on. And sometimes we just need the ability to focus down on what is really going to make their students the most successful. And I've broken down the top 10 list for teachers and parents to be able to use these to help them outside of the classroom as well. And the very first one is high expectations. All teachers have heard this before, but it's something that really needs to be brought to home, because many times the children don't even know what their level is. They don't know their expectations, what they can do. And by setting a high expectation and not let them getting away with just doing the mediocre really makes them think and makes them realize that they can take it to the next level. Many times they've been so used to just doing the mundane, just as little as they can to get by, that they don't realize the benefits of taking it to the next level, taking it to a point where they are actually being successful. And many times you like what you're good at. And so when you get to that point and they've set themselves that intrinsic view that, you know what, I am good at this, I can do this, that is really going to help them. And by setting that high expectation, that is going to allow them to get there to that level. And I really think that that's something that all teachers and parents can put forth, so that when we are helping kids, we are making sure that our expectations are high so that they rise to that occasion. And teachers around the world will verify this, that when you have high expectations, the children will rise to that. They will rise to the top. They're like a balloon. They just keep going until they hit the ceiling. And that ceiling should be as high as possible. Now, of course, it needs to be child appropriate, and it, of course, needs to be at their level the best. But when having a high expectation, many times they'll even exceed that. And that's what we're looking for. The next one, my friends, is generally caring. When you genuinely care, the kids see that. And I think that that's what many times we forget, is that kids can see through the different layers. The kids can see how we're feeling inside. The kids can see what is going on with us. And when the teacher has a genuine care for the well-being of their students, and it's easy, once again, as I mentioned before, to get bogged down in the paperwork and the conferences and the this and the that and everything that's going on, that we sometimes get into a robotic scenario where we're just trying to get to A to B. And we have to sometimes remember that just genuinely caring for the well-being and the education of their child and of their student is really going to make a huge difference, because just like setting high expectations, when that child knows in their heart that you are there to see them succeed, they are going to do leaps and bounds for you. They will do anything that you ask them to do because they realize that you have their best interest at heart. And many times teachers are there just for that reason. They sacrifice their own pay. Many of these people could have been entertainers and lawyers and doctors, but they have a passion for students. And when you genuinely care, that comes out to them, and that lifts up the children just so amazingly. So genuinely caring and putting forth that, because kids can see whether that's genuine or not. And getting that feeling across to the student really makes a big difference. The next one is, of course, modeling success. How you handle yourself in certain situations, how you handle yourself with certain students, with parents, with administrators, how you are dressed, how you roll with the punches, how positive are you. All of these things are going to be modeled to the students, and that's a big part of parenting as well, is that the kids learn far quicker through modeling. And when a child sees an adult handle situations in certain ways, when they see their attitudes, they see how they are able to kind of roll with the punches, as I said before, really does make a big difference. And I think that's one thing that we constantly have to remind ourselves, is that kids are always watching. And when you model success, you are going to help represent success. And they see that. And subconsciously, they are going to move toward that. And I think that is something that is always should be on the back of a teacher's mind, is how am I modeling? How am I showing these students? Because we have been born to learn this way, through watching, through modeling, or through seeing somebody modeling a certain scenario and how to handle that. And I think that that's something that we need to bring right up to the forefront of our teaching and helping students be successful, is modeling that success. And then in turn, it'll be much easier. It almost just goes through osmosis to the student. The next one is, of course, determining what's best for the child. Now, it's amazing, and many teachers and parents will see this with all the state testing and all the different curriculum and the this and the that. Many times it's easy to get stuck in the standardized, motions. And we have to remember that a lot of times we need to individualize and differentiate not only the instruction, but how we handle situations within students' ability. And I think that that's something that we really need to put, once again, to the forefront, because one size never fits all. And we find that so many times in the classroom. They keep, putting kids in the classroom, and that's just one more individual that we have to create and critique and help with their instruction and their education. When an amazing teacher is helping students for success, it's individualized. It's no different than when you're dealing with somebody's health. What works for one person, what's healthy for one person, many times won't be best for the next. And there's general strategies that can be helpful, but many times when you're taking that child to the next level, or that person to the next level, and to be successful, you have to critique and provide a different type of learning many times. And that really makes a big difference when you're differentiating between how one student can be successful versus another. And I think that is a huge part of being a teacher, is being able to take that child and do what's best for them, regardless of what the curriculum might say, or regardless of what the curriculum map or the time frame may show. They may need to do something a little bit differently than the next student. And by differentiating, by making sure that child is doing what's best for them, is going to propel them to success a lot quicker. A huge one for me, the next one, is positive reinforcement. Anytime a child does anything good, you got to let them know, because that's what allows them to realize what's best. You're positively reinforcing so that happens again. And so when a teacher puts that in the forefront of their learning, their instruction, their guidelines, that is really going to be what helps make or break a student get past those difficulties, because nothing is going to be perfect. But when you can find something good about a bad situation that occurs with the student, you can pick out that positiveness. That really is going to make a big difference, because what they're going to see is that taking risks can be tough, but when you find the positive in those things, that is really going to make a big difference, being able to propel them forward to success. Because by positively reinforcing what a child is doing, it really does make a big difference on whether or not they're going to try to continue again. We all know, and as I said before, we all like what we're good at, but it takes a while for us to get to that point. But if you can find something positive, even in a situation that may not be so, is going to help propel them to the next level. And this one leads perfectly to the next one, which is to cultivate a successful risk mentality. And what I mean by that is that, just as I'd said before, children need to take risks. In order to get better, they need to take a chance. And when we set up an environment where risk-taking is celebrated, and in reality, failing, in a sense of the word, is a reward, is a success, because we all know that when we take a risk, we don't lose, we learn. And I think that's important to say again, that when we take a risk, we don't lose, we learn. Because taking a risk is something that takes us out of our comfort zone, takes us to a place where we don't necessarily know the answer. And we may not get that answer. We may, quote unquote, fail at that situation. But as we've heard 1,000 times before, we do more learning in failure than we do with winning. We take that loss if we set up this risk mentality and we really cultivate with our children, with our students, that when things don't go our way, why is that? What happened? What did we do differently? And we learn from that. And many times we are set up in such a risk versus reward, or we must win at all costs mentality, that we forget about how much we learn from doing or from failing. Just doing in general, just trying. Because so many times we have what is called analysis of paralysis, or paralysis of analysis, where we just sit and think about it over and over and over, and we don't get it done because we're afraid we're going to fail. And when we set this up for our students, that it's okay not to win. It's okay to fail. It's okay for it not to turn out the way we wanted it to. But why is that? Why is that the case? What can we learn from that? And when we do it again, what would we do? What would we do differently? And that is something that really makes a huge impact in a child's life. Because once again, we have been taught that failure is bad. And when we can flip that on its head, and we can let the children know, the students know, that failure is a good thing, in the sense that it didn't work out, how can we change that? How can we get better? And then how can we succeed? And I think a big part of that as well is that telling them and changing the definition of failure. Failure is not not winning or not going the way you wanted to or not the way it expected. It's failure is when you give up. When you give up, that is when you fail. I mean, how many times, and I use this all the time in the classroom, how many times did Thomas Edison fail before he got it right? If he would have given up the sixth time or the 10th time or even the 100th time, we wouldn't be where we are today. Same example with Michael Jordan. It's a huge example of one of the greatest basketball players in the world didn't make his high school basketball team. If he would have quit there, he would have failed. But because he tried, because Thomas Edison tried and continued, he was the success that he was. They both understood that failure is not losing. Failure is quitting. And I think that's a huge one that we really need to discuss with our students. Another one is a huge one for long-term success is creating study habits. We are always going to be lifetime learners. And that's something that needs to be brought forth into your classroom, is that we're always lifetime learners. And how do we continue to be lifelong learners? It's through continuous studying and learning. And how do we do that? Because when you set a study habit or a learning habit, that is going to be the foundation for the rest of their life. If we have set up this understanding that you are never going to stop learning, and learning and studying is part of that learning, then setting up those appropriate study habits is going to make a big, big difference. Back in the day, it was taking notes. Nowadays, it's how to research Google, how to use that information and bring it old school and possibly taking notes, setting up a routine of every day, getting your business taken care of, getting your homework done. What does that look like? And that's going to be individualistic for every child. Some kids are going to need to go right away and handle their business. Some kids are going to need to have a snack and then play and then come back. Some kids are going to need to take a longer break. The idea, my friends, is not about what the study habits look like. It's making sure that it's reinforced, because some kids are going to be done in a second and they're going to need more. Some kids are going to need longer time. But the idea is that setting up good study habits, setting up good research habits, because that's what's happening in today's world. We are always researching, we are always learning. Google and the internet has taken this to the next level. It has made researching and studying and finding the answer so much easier. And in order to make a child successful, they need to start these habits now. They need to start the habits of learning and studying and handling their business in an educational way now, and setting up that process so that the routine is fluid. They know exactly what to do. And that starts in the classroom. And then it's furthered in the home. And working together with parents and teachers, having them work together really does make this a big difference. The next one is setting a goal mentality. And I think this is lost with many times because we hear all these motivational speakers and all these different people talk about setting goals, but we never really talk about that with students. And I think as a teacher, setting a child up for success, we want to make individual goals for them, because we've talked about setting high expectations, and that's huge. We've talked about individualizing and differentiating for each different child's success. But following along right with that is setting up a child with a goal. A goal for them is something that they move toward. And that is something that's going to help them to be successful in the long run, because setting up a goal for a child will get them to realize that that expectation that they had of themselves can be even greater. They reach the goal and you make another one. And you reach that goal and you make another one. And they realize that that ceiling, that balloon that we were talking about before just keeps bumping up against, pretty soon raises a little higher and raises a little higher, because they are focusing their energy on a goal. And this is something that really makes a huge difference, not only in the classroom, but even when they are outside of the classroom, whether it be sports or a hobby. They need to focus their energy on a small part to reach a larger goal. And by doing so, by teaching them that in the classroom, will really make a huge difference both inside and outside of the classroom. Another one that's very important is helping students think outside the box. I love to see in different classrooms and in different scenarios where the teacher is allowing them to be creative, allowing them to solve problems in a way that is best for them. It's amazing to see in some of these science classes and in some of these problem-solving situations that they are, the best way to help a child be successful, at least one of them, is to allow them to start seeing things in a different manner. It's amazing how we get so stuck in one train of thought that we almost have to train our kids and help them realize that there are multiple different options. And that when we work collaboratively with other students, we start seeing that there's other ways to think about a problem. One person sees it this way, another person sees it the other. When a group of kids get together and talk about an issue or a problem or a way to attain a goal, as we mentioned before, it's amazing the different things that come out of their mouths, and each of them will realize that there's more than one way to solve this problem or to get or reach a goal that they would like to obtain. And so when we give our students the practice of thinking outside of the box, to listening to other people and the way they solve the issue or where they handle the issue, we start cultivating in their own brain that maybe there's more than one way, and maybe the way I'm thinking about it right now isn't necessarily the best way to do that. Or another way that this helps a child to be successful is that they realize that when you are solving a problem, getting other people's suggestions and help. I think that is a huge one. I think that to start out a child with saying, I would like to solve this problem, and I would like for you to help me with this. I would like for you to get your advice. And what it does is that allows them to start cultivating, start allowing the student to see other different ways to solve the problem. And we also need to let them know that it's okay not for them to take that person's advice or that their way to solve the situation. The idea is to get a full 360 view of all the options and then allow them to pull that from that solution that they need. And I think that is something that really, really makes a huge difference when we start that out in the classroom as young as possible. That is going to set them up for success. If we had learned this kind of stuff when we were in grade school, in middle school, even in high school, a lot of times adults are just starting to learn this. If we're able to get this to them quick, it's going to save them a lot of heartache, and it's going to allow them to rise to the top so much more quickly. And then the last one is something that is really a pinnacle part of this channel, is that having parents and teachers work together to help their child and their student be successful. You can't beat the team of parents and teacher and administration and grandparents and everybody together boosting up this child to make them the most successful they can be. And that takes a team effort. When the teacher is communicating with the parent and the parent is communicating with the teacher, this really does allow everybody to help with that child's individual success plan, with the individual goals that they have. Many times a child does great academically, but needs social and behavioral help. Maybe they are the class butterfly, but they need academic help. There's 1,000 different combinations that help with this, but when the parent can give their not expectations per se, but their point of view of what's happening, and the teacher can give their point of view, when they put it together, that's only going to boost that child's the chance of success dramatically. So getting those two groups of folks to work together and to elevate the child, because that's the number one thing that both parents and teachers are doing, is putting those perspectives together and allowing the child to be the most successful they can be. And that is kind of it is the principle of this channel, is the reason why these three groups of people are the most important is that the child is going to be the new future. And who influences the child? The parent and the teacher. When we have all three of these working together, the trifecta of success, our future is going to be amazing. And that is why we want every child to be as the most successful they can be. And these steps will hopefully be the way to do that, both in the classroom and at home. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. As I mentioned before, we really do believe the number one most important group of people on the planet are kids, parents, and teachers, for the reason why I just gave. If you would like, and you've got this end of this video, I appreciate your passion and I appreciate your ability to understand how important this is. And if you'd like to hear more videos about this, please leave us a suggestion or a comment below. Please give me some suggestions on what you would like to hear. And until next time, my friends, have a great rest of the day, and thank you for watching.